Okay, for those of you who are watching this live at the moment via Zoom, so not watching the recording, which is going to be put onto Facebook afterwards, but if you're watching this live on Zoom today, for the actual live presentation, 2 p.m. UK time, on the 17th of October, year of our Lord 2020, I would like to ask you to put your email address in the Zoom chat, not in the question and answer section, in the Zoom chat. The reason for this is because the Zoom chat is going to be saved as a text file and emailed back to Spooky so that you can then get a discount code, which will provide you with a certain percentage off your next purchase within a month of today's date, roughly speaking. Okay, and that will be useful to yourself. Write those email addresses into the Zoom chat, accumulate it, and then that will become like a database, and everyone's going to receive their reward for having taken up some of your Saturday to see my ugly face. All right. So we have 21 people in the participating at the moment. Email addresses in the Zoom chat, each and every single one of you. I'll hopefully remind people who turn up late to do the same thing. And that's essentially going to be like the most important thing you can do. Remember, if you're watching this on Facebook or on YouTube afterwards, then don't do that. Don't just write your email address in the comment section or something. That just won't do any good. It will just open you up to, you know, security issues. We don't want that. Okay. Okay, it's now 2:01. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a little about myself first and foremost. I had this time when I was like dealing with my issues and using a wide variety of herbs and nutrition and God alone knows what else to try and solve my or improve my health condition. I suddenly had a brainwave I could start using electronic means. And so I explored zappers and I got some benefits from that. Then I used a frequency device and I got some benefits from that, and that gave me justification to invest heavily in Spooky. Okay, if I had just gone straight for Spooky2, I'd have saved myself over £1,000. That's the way it is, and that's why Spooky2 is so good, because it does a hell of a lot of what it says on the tin. So I just need to bring that to your attention now. I'm clicking share screen, and I'm going to choose a screen to share. So here we go. Just rearrange a window, click the present button. And here we go at the start of the Spooky2 Scalar question and answer section. So this is a presentation that's been assembled by Spooky2 in order to answer the vast majority of questions people have got about this technology and to provide you with a little bit more background, information, and inspiration so that you can work out how this stuff could actually work for you and be beneficial to yourself. As I say, I myself am not a medical practitioner, okay? I'm therefore not qualified to talk about cures and all that kind of stuff. It's just not within my remit to do so. But this is a technology which I use for myself to try and help my general well-being, and therefore I have found it beneficial. And that includes the regular Rife technology of contact, plasma, the remotes, which I was very skeptical about initially, and now Scalar as well. So let's have a think about what Spooky2 is about, what can it be used to treat, and what people have been able to gain some benefits from. Okay, start from the top. Spooky2 Scalar can treat anything that a regular Rife machine can treat. That's the first thing you need to think. But it's using a different energy. It's using something which has different physical properties. Just like when you're doing your laundry, you use a powder or you use a liquid, it will work in the laundry in a different way because it will dissolve in a different way and so on and so forth. So if you're using regular Rife or you're using Scalar, it's you know, it's a different energy. It's a very pure signal, but there's no unwanted noise there. So if you're dealing with, let's say, Candida, and you're using Candida frequencies, which you have biofeedback scanned, and you have done refined programs on your, your grade scan, you will then be getting just the right frequency set that your body requires based upon your biofeedback, if you get my drift. Spooky2 Scalar can also treat conditions which Rife machines have problems with. Now, this is interesting because there's something interesting about the scalar energy itself, in the fact it does seem to have some variety of tissue repair, tissue healing, and body strengthening phenomena to it. So as well as getting the benefits of the very fact that you're putting a Rife frequency or a molecular frequency through your body, you're also adding the fact that it is scalar, and scalar is good for your entire energy system because it is said that the cells of your body communicate with each other using the scalar energy as well. Okay, so you're adding more of something which is beneficial for your entire physical and energetic system. Now the question is about EMF, because electromagnetic fields, which is what EMF stands for, EMF stands for electromagnetic fields, is becoming more of a hot topic, and people are concerned about how EMF is affecting their body. And people are looking for ways to redress that somehow. Okay, so there are many things out there in the world, in general, which are being purported to reduce or eliminate EMF. Okay, one of these things is orgonite, which you can see I've got in my hand here. I don't know whether you can see me on your screen there. Some products even claim to make the EMF less harmful. We are not making such claims, okay? Like if your mobile phone communicates with the cell towers using a form of radiation, if you were to eliminate that radiation, you wouldn't be able to make a phone call. So you've got to be aware that some EMF is not necessarily a bad thing. Some people suggest, like, is there a way of cutting down any EMF which comes out of a Rife generator? Well, if something's only like 0.5% bad for you and 99.5% good for you, you'd still want to use it. That's the way I would see it. Okay? Electromagnetic fields radiate in all directions from many sources. So your domestic wiring, right at the minute, you're taking some EMF from your computer, your laptop, your mobile phone, everywhere, okay? A plug-in device cannot absorb these airborne signals effectively. The best we can do is to become a receiver of the signal. So it can't block it. But if you improve your overall health and vitality of your body so it can better handle the energetic toxicity coming your way through your 5G towers, through your mobile phone, through everything else around you, then you're in with much more of a chance because your body can handle it. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is it. One of the theories of this is it's improving your overall physical well-being so your body can handle more invasion of pathogens and electromagnetic energy and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so how do we know if the Spooky2 scalar is actually running, it's actually doing something? Because for some people, they don't feel anything. All right, and that's understandable. We're dealing with a different kind of energy. It's not like being zapped with a low frequency on your XM generator. Okay, Spooky2 scalar has some basic visual things, such as the built-in frequency generator has display lights, the transmitter has a tuning tool, the receiver also has LEDs on it, which proves that the energy is being converted into the scalar field. Okay, now you know what the Spooky2 scalar looks like. It's these two little briefcases, and you open them up, and you point the backs of the lids towards each other, and you sit or lie between the two of them. This is a key question. What is the ideal distance for Spooky2 scalar? Okay, so we've got to look at minimums, which is 6 feet. You got to try and keep at least 2 foot away from the transmitter coil, or 1 foot away from the receiver. Okay, 2 feet away from the transmitter, 1 foot away from the receiver. When you do a biofeedback scan using Scalar, because you can use the Scalar Digitizer plugged into the Scalar unit, try to keep the 2 units closer together so that the scan results are not affected by other items inadvertently entering the scalar field. It's a sensitive system. If you've got other things coming into that oval-shaped field between the 2 lids, that will affect it. That could be an insect, it could be a pet, it could be just something else. In theory, taking into account what we know about Scalar, there is no limit to the maximum distance between the 2 lids. It is said that the further apart the 2 boxes are, the bigger and stronger the scalar field is, because the shape of the scalar field is like a rugby ball, which grows bigger when you have a greater distance between the 2 tips of your rugby ball. However, more items will be within the field. Okay, so there's an opportunity for interference there if you're doing biofeedback scanning, and also more things in the field means that some of it could be absorbed, reducing the strength which is going into your body. And also you've got the long link cable, and it may lose some energy from that. So you've got to try and find a happy medium that suits whether you're doing biofeedback or treatment. The good news is the scalar field is not blocked by walls, so you can put the 2 units in different rooms so long as they're pointing in the right directions to get the field going. For best results, keep the 2 lids facing each other. Right, now let's think about the size of the scalar field between the transmitter and receiver. And there is a picture of your rugby ball, okay? The scalar field balloons out between the transmitter and the receiver. It expands in the middle. Okay. If the 2 are further apart, the signal becomes wider, like an American football or a rugby ball if you're English. And the diameter is about 1/2 of the length separating the devices. So you've got 6 feet between the 2 lids. You've then got a 3-foot diameter in the middle of your rugby ball, your American football. So you can develop a mental picture taking into account those proportions as to how big the field would be and whether you'll be getting any benefit from the field. Okay, do we need to change settings for different diseases? All right, once we've got it set up, and once the transmitter and receiver are tuned, because when you turn the device on, you've got to twiddle your tuning dial until the little red light is really bright, and then you've got the signal going between the 2 lids. Once it's tuned, no other settings need to be changed, but for different conditions may require different chemicals on the receiver coil. It's on the receiver coil, not the transmitter coil, okay, when you're doing molecular scalar. Molecular scalar is when you take the properties of a molecule, like a vitamin, a mineral, some medicines, essential oils, and you're putting the meaning, the energy of that particular molecule into the scalar field so your body can get some benefit from it. So frankincense is a good general purpose healing compound. People who have cancer may wish to place a chemotherapy drug on the coil to help to induce cancer death in the body. It carries the meaning of the medicine into your body. So you're already taking your medicine, you want to put it onto the receiver coil as well. It'll hopefully amplify the effect and helping things out. It's also said that by adding a cancer toxin to the sample of the urine or blood and placing that on the coil will improve the results further, as the information of the cancer cell death will be transferred to the cancer cells in the body. Okay, so it's taking a meaning brought about by the molecular chemistry and delivering that into the field, which delivers it to your body. So what does it mean practically for a person when placing a substance on the receiver coil? What happens within the body? So we've got this procedure, what does it actually do? Good question. We can add molecular information into the scalar field by placing a substance on the receiver coil. Okay? Molecular information transmitted through the scalar field to the body of the person receiving it. It would emulate the effect of the substance in the body. The person in the scalar field will receive the information, which will then have an effect, which will be beneficial to the wellness of the individual. Okay, but what happens if we were to get a bit more experimental and put an insecticide on the transmitter coil? Because some people do have issues with insects. Okay. Would the water have some insecticidal effect and be toxic? So that's if you're putting water on the other coil. And would your body absorb the toxicity? Now, if you were to put an insecticide on the receiver, not the transmitter, your body will absorb it. If you put it on the transmitter, not the receiver, it's not the same thing. And if the water does have, and water itself does have the same effect too. Okay. So you put the insecticide on the receiver, not the transmitter. You were to put water on the transmitter and then drink the water, then you'd be putting insecticide in your body, basically. What would be the point or purpose of that? If you were to put the insecticide on the receiver and then lie between the lids of the scalar device, you'll be putting the effects of the insecticide into your body. But that is toxic to your body because it's a poison. So you don't necessarily want to use natural insecticide for that purpose. You can test it if you want, but it's completely at your own risk. It certainly is not something I would try. Is it possible to produce a negative impact upon the body by placing a biologically harmful substance on the receiver coil? Basically, I think it is. I mean, I wouldn't want to muck around with things which are negative to my body when I'm using scalar. I would only want it to be beneficial to my body and negative to my pathogens, negative to my disease. I would want to use good things like vitamins and minerals. I would want to use herbs which counteract my candida and other co-infections. It is said that we are not sure, but it is hypothetically possible. Some people think our body takes what it needs, but some people think otherwise. So I think we have to say that we regard scalar as having a certain experimental aspect to it. But I certainly wouldn't be putting something that negative into my body. And we recommend keeping the harmful substance away from the receiver coil. Because we're usually doing this for health and well-being. Now we've got a question from a user saying, my mother has 7 to 8 pills a day. Can we put all of them on the receiver coil and imprint them into a single glass of water? Which is an interesting point of view. I mean, can you extend your medicines that way? The answer is yes. Now, personally, what I would do is, as well as still taking my medicines, I would also take it in the form of scalar too. If the doctor's given me medicines to take, my role would be to carry on taking them the way in which I've been told to. But I would also potentially shove them onto the receiver coil in accordance with what we see here in the picture. Okay, as far as is possible, close to the little circle on the receiver coil. One research group places over 30 different oils and drugs on the coil and report great results. Okay, so this is an amazing technology which can be used in a wide variety of different creative ways. But from my point of view, if you're being given vitamins and minerals and drugs to take, then you carry on taking them and just add a bit of extra using your scalar. How would the Spooky2 scalar only imprint the oil and not the chemical structure of the plastic cap? Now we're moving on to a territory where there's plenty of questions, because not everyone believes that the plastic is necessarily a negative, it's going to have a negative effect upon the energy transmitted. But some researchers believe that the plastic and paper will not affect the results, but we've still got questions. To be safe, we recommend you use a glass container without a plastic lid or a paper label, which means you have to be very careful about your organization of your little bottles, so you know what's gone in what. You can place a marble on the top of the bottle instead of a plastic lid. So you can nip down to the toy shop and have an excuse to start buying marbles all over again later in life. So what kind of vessel can I combine biological fluids with cell-killing agents? Okay, so let's say you are struggling with cancer and want to stack scalar on top of your existing treatments. What kind of container would you put your urine sample with cancer cells in it with a bit of chemotherapy medicine? So, near the end of it here, but it appears that if it's like a glass container, Petri dish, microscope slide, glass beaker, and you can get these things on eBay and also from laboratory equipment providers. So something with a lid will make that will make the liquid nice and stable as a sample, or the essential oil last longer. So if you got yourself some laboratory ware with lids, glass stoppers ideally, that would be brilliant. What's the best way to label my essential oils and samples that I've placed in glass bottles and vials? Because labeling and organizing is important. Okay. You can write it on a piece of paper tape with pen and ink and place the tape on the top of the vials, or write with ink directly on the glass bottles. But writing directly upon the glass bottles is best. So you get yourself a pen which has like permanent ink and do it that way. If you use paper, you can just place that on top of the vial so it's further away from the coil. Because if you think about that, if that's the size of your vial, the top of it is further away from the bottom, and all the goodness, all the medicines, you should have at the bottom. So let's say you're using frankincense essential oil. Is it right to mix the essential oil with saliva? Okay, oils are oils. Saliva won't mix with it. And normally you don't mix saliva with a chemical unless you're killing something that's basically inside the saliva. So it would have to be like a water-soluble, ideally a water-soluble thing, one would assume. Now, is there a minimum amount of essential oil that one can place on the receiver coil that will produce useful effects? Talking about scalar here, it can take very small quantities. For molecular scalar, you don't need much. Just a small glass dish with even a few drops should be beneficial and should work for you. But you just need a tiny sample of the information in order for it to go into the field. You can find some glass stopper bottles and put a few millimeters in them, just a few, literally a few drops. But you probably don't need an ounce of anything, okay? You don't need loads and loads and loads of it. It's just enough of a trace to put into information into the field. Okay, so now we're talking about the Scalar Digitizer, which we use for biofeedback scanning and grade scanning and refine programs using the Generator X. And this Scalar Digitizer is designed to fit Spooky2 Scalar, but it also integrates with Generator X. So the Spooky2 Scalar Digitizer measures tiny changes in the scalar field during a scalar frequency scan through detecting phase angle. Okay, so it's not working on angle and current. It's only really working through phase angle because we're using a different type of energy than when you're using your Generator X directly. But it can still produce very good, very accurate biofeedback results, taking into account what's in the middle of the scalar field, everything that's in the field. The XM generator is not designed to detect phase angle because it works, you know, the XM scan works via your pulse and uses the pulse unit and also direct current going through it. Well, it's not direct current, it's current going directly through your body. So Spooky2 Scalar biofeedback can only be performed with Generator X. Okay, so Generator X is the generator for scalar, really. Okay, now thinking about arranging everything. Well, why don't we just have the Generator X within reach, you know, within the scalar field when doing a scalar biofeedback? Okay, because the instructions say you need to spread it out a bit. And here's the reason for biofeedback with Generator X and Scalar Digitizer. The reason why Generator X should not stay in the scalar field while doing biofeedback is that the scalar biofeedback is quite accurate and sensitive. Any kind of disturbance should not occur. Generator X will cause the scalar field to be disrupted while running from within the field in general, not just during the biofeedback. So it'll affect it negatively. So that's why we have to spread all our equipment out a bit, and we recommend that the Generator X should not stay in the scalar field. So if you think about what we discussed earlier on about how big the scalar field is, namely the diameter of the middle of the rugby ball is equivalent to half the distance between the lids, that should give you a mental image of how big the field is, so you know how far away is the minimum to put Generator X. But a little bit further out would not go amiss. So, next question. Is it normal that the light on the receiver does not turn on when doing scalar biofeedback scan? Okay, now the receiver light can be on or dim because there's quite a lot of power lost in the Scalar Digitizer. The link cable becomes more sensitive to the effects of earthing. If the LED is off, you can do a simple test by making confirmation that the scalar field is present. And this you can do in the software. You go to the Systems tab, select Display Generator X Current and Angle. The graph in the Control tab will then display the current on the selected generator. Placing your hand into the scalar field should influence the graph, proving a scalar field is present. So you put your hand into the fields, it'll create some disruption that will be mirrored in some kind of sufficiently dramatic movement on the graph. Okay, in the Systems tab. So now let's think about the actual frequency range when using Scalar Digitizer. Why is it from 100 to 50,000 Hertz when using Scalar Digitizer? What is the rationale for that frequency range? It's the optimum range for scalar modulation. You can go up to 5 megahertz if you want, but the scalar field will become distorted at the very high frequencies. So therefore, we're keeping it down to the range which is best for scalar. Are scalar biofeedback scan frequencies modulated real time? What is the recommended duration of a scalar biofeedback scan in the software? Okay, here we go. Just like when you're doing a regular generator X scan, after doing scalar biofeedback, you should run the scan results to do some treatments. Remember to remove the Scalar Digitizer when you run the scan results. Okay? If you look at the instruction manual as well as some of the videos on spooky2videos.com, you will probably find the difference in setup between your standard scalar as well as your biofeedback and your hunt and kill. So check the recommended duration in the Spooky2 software. But I also think from, when you're treating, you got to work out what your body's saying to you. And you got to think about how your body is reacting and whether you're having excitement reactions. Okay? I don't think your scan should necessarily be too long, nor too short. I mean, we haven't done biofeedback with Spooky2 Scalar Digitizer for a long time, but it wasn't really the longest experience I've had, and it was definitely shorter than doing something with the XN. It had longer than the normal quick scans I tend to do when just using Generator X. So just find yourself a nice happy medium and just go with that and get the best results you can. And then see what you can do with the final results. What I would do would be to, after you've done, let's say, your Generator X scan, maybe even take those frequencies that you've gained and run refined programs on it via contact method to try and get yourself some more precise figures if you want prior to getting onto treating with scalar. That would be another way of doing it. Or you could try and do that same kind of like a refining using Generator X and Scalar Digitizer. Just a question of trying to use the tools available with your common sense, try and find the best possible scan for yourself, the best possible grade scans for yourself. Okay, so once you've got your scalar biofeedback scan, what do you do? Once you've completed the scan, you get your frequency list. This can be saved in a custom program that you can run through Scalar. Take a scan on Scalar, you can run it on Scalar. Select Scalar Shell Preset, click on the Program tab, select your custom program. Click on the Control tab, check the Overwrite box, click on your generator number, and run the results on the Scalar. Question, can I perform other biofeedback scans in the scalar field? Why can I do biofeedback scan using Scalar Digitizer? So you can't do too much else. You can't do a pulse scan at the same time. But Spooky2 Scalar Digitizer measures tiny changes in the scalar field, while Generator X records how the electrical signal behaves. Only Scalar Digitizer can do biofeedback scan in the scalar field. So if you want to do everything on Scalar and Scalar is your thing, you need Scalar Digitizer in order to get the right biofeedback sorted out. Okay, so now how should I run it? Okay, you can run the hits using any method. Remote, contact, plasma, spooky central, because you can use your scalar and your scalar digitizer just as a means of non-contact method of biofeedback prior to delivering it through any other method. Although it is assumed that scalar would be best because that's how you found the frequencies at hand. Okay, so what if you wanted to play around with using your DNA sample whilst doing scalar biofeedback? Now, Scalar Digitizer is different from the sample digitizer. So you don't need to have your DNA on it for a scan. You just need to sit or lie between the two scalar boxes. And you can relax, you can read a book, you can watch some TV, whatever. Just try and have as few other things getting in the way of the field and distracting the field, the Scalar Digitizer, from the work at hand of scanning your body. Question: can I do biofeedback scan just with saliva in the scalar field to run the Spooky2 Scalar Digitizer hunt and kill scan? Okay, just saliva in the scalar field. This is the question. Because hunt and kill is quite a useful tool, so people can think that would be a good thing. But no, you got this rugby ball shaped field which is 6 foot wide and 3 foot across. Saliva is way too small. Anything else like dust or anything born in the air or insects and so on and so forth will have a greater effect in the scalar field. So you've actually got to sit or lie in the scalar field if you're doing hunt and kill protocol. Okay, that's the questions that I was asked to answer on behalf of the wonderful people at Spooky. So I now click stop screen share and I bring you back to my ugly face. And now we got questions appearing in the Q&A box. Now, we've covered rather an awful lot in reasonable depth there. And we'll see what everyone else has said in the question and answer section. If you want to carry on asking me questions for a while so that you can gain my perspective, put your questions either in the Zoom webinar chat or you can put them in the Q&A because I'll get around to it eventually. Because it's my job here to give you as much information as I can during this time. Right. Right. Could you please compare biofeedback scan versus hunt and kill? Okay. Right. Hunt and kill is a method of using generator X to gain or to use 10 particular frequencies. Those frequencies are then run for the purposes of doing some killing on those 10 particular frequencies. Once those 10 frequencies have been run for 3 minutes each, a scan is done to test those same 10 frequencies. If there is some deviation, then a new set of numbers is created, which is similar to and based upon those original 10 numbers. The idea is that the condition or the infection may have changed or mutated or tried to get out of the way, of the attempt to kill it, because the infection wants to live. You don't want it to live, but the infection wants to live. So it changes, or some of it gets killed off, but other more resilient bits which have a different frequency are still around. So the second iteration will then go in a bit harder on those extra bits, and then there'll be another scan based upon those 10 frequencies, and it carries on and carries on and carries on. So hunt and kill can be done all night long. And the result of that is, by the end of your session, there will be some kind of improvement in whatever frequencies were found. But in a similar way to grade scanning, you can take some existing frequencies, either from an existing frequency set or from a previous biofeedback scan, and you can run those through hunt and kill. So let's say you're tackling Candida, and there's one particular Candida frequency set which once upon a time had a good effect on you, and it doesn't do that anymore. Put that frequency set into hunt and kill and run hunt and kill on that frequency set. It will choose the first 10, and it will just run hunt and kill on that all night long. And you'll probably get some Herxheimer reactions or some killing experiences during the night. That is my experience. So a scan is just getting some frequencies which you are going to run. A grade scan is getting the top most effective frequencies from some existing frequency sets, which you can then run. Hunt and kill is taking a set of frequencies, either from a scan or from a pre-existing set, and testing them, running them and testing them, running them and testing them in a cycle. It can be quite effective, but if you're just starting out using hunt and kill from a blank sheet, it will pick up something, but which might not necessarily be the condition you're trying to treat. It could be something else you've got, okay? So it'll be improving your well-being, but it won't necessarily be targeted. So if you use targeted frequency sets, you may have a bit more fun with your condition. So that should be a good explanation of the difference between a regular biofeedback scan and hunt and kill. Okay, next question. Is it possible to transmit scalar frequencies to DNA or photographs, as in the case with remotes? And is it equally effective? I understand some people have been experimenting with it, because you could put, let's say, some molecular sample on your receiver coil, and then you could put some fingernail clippings on your transmitter coil and see what happens. But I understand that the current wisdom is that there are questions about that. Some people are claiming it's, you know, there is some transmitting, and some aren't saying that. So for the moment, I would say that you can best transmit to your DNA either using remotes or through using, you know, masking tape and sticking it onto the side of your plasma tube, because the plasma tube also produces scalar and can therefore be used as a variety of remotes. Okay, so what you could do is use your plasma tube to treat yourself and have your husband or wife's fingernail clipping masking taped onto the other side of your plasma tube to make sure they get some goodness too when they're out and about at work or shopping or in a meeting. Okay? Next question. If the receiver coil gets dusty, does that transmit? At a wild guess, I'd say possibly. So one thing you could do is cover it with a small glass bowl, all right, and dust the thing frequently. So if you go to like a cookware shop or a hardware shop and get yourself some glass bowls, which are used in cooking and just about fit the right, you know, diameter, then use that and just cover it up, cover up your you know, whatever it is you're trying to put into the field, whether it's crystals, whether it's oils, whether it's pharmaceuticals, cover it all up. Okay. Okay, Chris R., please keep your email address in the Zoom webinar chat, please. Thank you. What areas on the receiver coil are the best and second best? Okay, you'll notice you've got like a big circle and you've got a tiny little circle on the side of the big circle. Try and gather everything as close as you can to the little circle, but make sure it's still actually on the coil plate itself. Okay, actually, it's ideally in the bigger metal colored circle. But I'm pretty sure any area on the coil will be good. It's just that that one spot is just the best. So if you've got some priority pharmaceuticals you want to put into your body through Scalar, make sure they're on the spot. If there's other ones which you also want to get some benefit from, they can go around it. Okay? But that has to be like of a lesser importance, I suppose. Okay, now we've got a whole stream of questions from Andreas. Number one, can I use every frequency I use with contact also for Scalar? I might have my own frequency, which I use successfully with contact, but I don't know whether I can also use that with Scalar, which might be even more efficient. Yeah, run it. Put it through. As far as being more efficient is concerned, to a certain extent, some of this is experimental. I found Scalar very good for some of my problems, but not all of them. And I found contact and plasma good for some of my problems, but not all of them. Some people would actually have some dedicated time to receive the frequency via contact, and then at another time of day, they would then do it via Scalar. So let's say you're sitting at your desk during the day and working. Maybe that's when you want to be connected to your generator X via contact and take it via contact. And then in the evening, when you're chilling out to Netflix, you're sitting between your Scalar boxes and you're receiving your frequency that way. Same frequency. So you'll be getting the benefit of Scalar, the benefit of contact throughout the working day, if you can. For other people, you can do your contact whilst watching Netflix at the end of a long day of work, and then do the Scalar when you're in bed at night when you don't want anything touching your body, depending upon what you've worked out within the logistics of your life. Okay? Number two. If we are two people lying in the same bed using Scalar Molecular overnight, we use zinc, magnesium, vitamin C, and MSM. We are both quite healthy, but my wife doesn't need some. Can I still put the same on the receiver, and so her body doesn't just reabsorb it? Or will she get too much for her for her body? Difficult to say. As I mentioned earlier on, some people say that the body discards what it doesn't need when it comes to scalar energy. But there's questions about that. I think with all of these things, you need to look at your symptoms, you need to look at how you're feeling, and you've got to adjust it accordingly. It's just like when you've chosen to go to a health food shop to get a particular supplement, and you try it for a while and it's okay, then after a while you start to feel a bit bad, and then you reduce your dosage of that supplement, and then you have to play with it to a certain extent to try and work out what's right for your body. Or maybe you do it in cycles, sometime on, sometime off, and just see how it goes. It's hard to say, but if you've got two people who are sleeping between the scalar lids, then it's possible that there could be a weakening of the field because you're both absorbing the scalar energy. So you're both getting a weaker dose. You're still getting some of it, you're both getting a weaker dose of it because you've got two people absorbing it. If I'm taking my scalar when I'm on my bed and my cat jumps on my bed, then the cat will be taking some of my scalar away from me. You see where I'm coming from? How long do I have to put the essential oil on the receiver coil when I go to bed? I usually take it off after 2 to 3 hours when I wake up in the night. It's up to you. I cannot give you a prescribed time dosage. It's not possible for me. Okay? If you're getting some benefits with 2 to 3 hours when you wake up in the night, then fine. If you want to experiment with going longer, then do so. Sometimes you just have to suck it and see. And I can't turn around to you and say, you've got to do it this way. When I've done it before with herbal medicines, I put some of the strong herbal medicines on the receiver coil, and I slept that way all night long. And I didn't actually get much benefit from that. So I went back to taking my herbal medicine and going back to contact writing for that particular thing. But I went back to Scalar to try and get other energy into me of a different type. All right, like the homeopathic stuff. Things which are pure energy signatures. Maybe the herbs I was using was too much of a complex formula. It's difficult to say. Question number 4. Can you show exactly which areas are the best and second best on the receiver coil for the molecular scalar? Yeah, the little dot. There's a little dot on the edge of the plate, and that's the best on the dot. And all the things which are second best, you have like orbiting around it. Okay. So essentially, you think about, you got your priority supplement, you put that on the white dot, on the grey dot, and then there's other things you also want to get, but you don't need them as much, you put them around it. And again, on the transmitter coil, if you can put it as close to the little dot, then do so. If you can't, then do the best you can, and then you'll get the energy, the frequency delivered into the water. Next question. I have loaded various programs onto the Generator X. Can you confirm that I can run 2 programs at the same time from Generator X using Generator 1 and 2? No. No, one after the other. Okay? You follow the instructions for the setup, you do one and then the other. It depends upon how long the programs are, doesn't it? And how much, whether one is of greater priority than the other. The only way that I can put lots of different frequency sets simultaneously into my body is through remotes and lots of generators. That's the only way. Okay, or I could do one via contacts and I could do all the rest via remotes, or I could do one via plasma and all the rest via remotes. Putting 2 frequency sets simultaneously, no. Can you also confirm if the tuning light should be flashing when running a program from Generator X, as my tuning light is not flashing? I don't normally look at my tuning light when I'm running it. I'm normally taking my frequency set. So I haven't actually looked at it, but I wouldn't worry about it if it's flashing or not. You tune it before your session. When it's nice and bright, then you're set, then you're ready. Okay? Follow the instructions. I mean, I do personally find the setup of Scalar more complicated than anything else. So I've kept the quick start guide in with my Scalar, so I can always refer back to it when I'm setting it up. I think that's important. Is it advisable for multiple people to sleep in the scalar field? No. If you can't avoid it, then you have to do it. Okay, it says here, I read somewhere it might transfer illness from one person to another. Well, it could transfer the frequency of the illness. So therefore, there is a risk of contamination. All right, if you're already like emotionally involved with someone, there is possibility you're exchanging your scalar energy already in some respects. So this will make it more, I suppose, more intense. And so it's worthwhile for you to receive your scalar and the other person not. It's just like when you're using remotes, you keep your DNA separated by paper tape or paper labels so that there can't be any contamination between the two on an energetic level. It just, you know, it's not going to happen. So it's not advisable. If you can't avoid it, then you've got to do it. You know, it just depends on space and time and energy and what you got. And you do the best you can with all these things. Okay. Next question. It would seem that when you do hunt and kill rather than let it continue all night, limits the number of rescanning and therefore herxing, and run a detox via liver, lymphatics, and kidneys to lessen the stress on the body. Yeah, you could do that, or you could have some remotes going to run Herxheimer help and so on and so forth. But you got to make sure that on the settings page, that the box which says pause all generators when scanning has been checked. Once it normally is set up like that, but make sure that is checked. Or you could, during the hunt and kill program, can you place a liver, lymph, or kidney health vial on the receiver, which would be the most beneficial. Okay, I can't tell you which is the most beneficial. I myself would normally consider running Herxheimer helper from the Lyman-Morgellons protocol. Okay, because that's good for Herxheimer reactions, and also to run things such as detox maintenance, but run those on separate generators. So get 2 XM generators running in the background, and that will help out with Herxheimer stuff. And keep your hunts and kill running all night long. The reason you want to keep your hunts and kill running all night long is because you want to hunt and you want to kill. You're doing it for a reason. If you only do your hunt and kill for a short period of time, you're not going to get as much benefit from if you're doing it for a longer period of time. If you think about it like this, if during a month, every night, you've only done hunt and kill for 3 hours, okay, you've done less hunting and less killing than if you'd done 8 hours every single night during that month. Okay, next question. Will wearing a Cpap mask during sleep not be recommended within Scalar field? Okay, fact of the matter is, if your doctor has told you to use a Cpap mask, then you do it. Okay, I'm not telling you to do anything different to what your doctor has already told you, or your surgeon, or your proper professional allopathic practitioner. If you're wearing your Cpap mask and you're in the Scalar field, you'll still be getting some benefit from the Scalar. There may be some interference, there may be something else going on there, yes, but the bottom line is you've got to do it, therefore you do it. Okay? I'm not going to tell you to do anything that your doctor has... Sorry, let me rephrase that. I'm not going to tell you to stop doing what your doctor has told you to do. I'm going to tell you always to do what your qualified medical practitioner has told you to do, always, first and foremost. Alongside that, you also go to your qualified naturopathic practitioner and you include some good stuff from that. On top of that, you also do your rifing and you read into, diet, nutrition, exercise, sleep, all the other normal stuff you have to do in order to try and create better wellness for yourself. Okay, so wear your Cpap mask, just do it. Okay, it is possible if you've got time during the day, you can take a Scalar during the day, can't you? And then you can just sleep at night. You've got to work out your own procedure because your life is going to be different to mine. My life is going to be different to yours. The restrictions on your life are going to be different to the restrictions on my life, and so on and so forth. Okay? And it is hard working it out and trying to do it in a manner which is logistically right for you, but it's got to be done. Okay. Next question. How sensible is the surface, how sensitive is the surface of the receiver coil and transmitter coil if an open essential oil falls over accidentally? Well, you clean it up as quickly as you can and as efficiently as you can, and you just do the best you can. I understand it is quite sensitive, so you want to try and keep that surface as clean as you can. Okay, and if there is still some essential oil left over from your cleaning, then you just got to accept that and carry on using any other form of molecular that you can too. But it's a question of remember that you've invested quite a lot of money into your Scalar, into your Generator X. You want to treat everything with a great deal of respect because this is part of your protocol for wellness. Okay, the final question in the Q&A part of the thing. If you got any more questions for me, just quickly write them into one form of chat or the other, because otherwise, like, the webinar will come to an end and you won't have an opportunity to ask. Next thing, the final question here on this bit, before I go back to seeing what anything else is coming on the regular chat, says, when a person, while using traditional medications normally, is susceptible to negative side effects, places her medications on a scalar machine, will her body also receive the information of the medication which brings about negative side effects? That's a very good question. And it does depend upon what part of your medicine and what part of your treatment you're actually reacting to negatively. Is it the actual substance? Is it the fillers in the drugs? Is it some physical residue left over from the chemical reaction inside your body? It's hard to say, very hard to say. And I think there are too many factors going on there for me to be able to give you a direct and honest answer. My impression is that, to the most part, if it is true that in molecular scalar, the body can reject that which it doesn't want more easily than it can if you ingest the chemical, that it's less likely you'll get the bad effects. And I'm assuming that the molecular scalar is milder somehow than ingestion. And it's not going to go straight into the digestive system. It's not going to affect the digestive organs directly. It doesn't have to be processed by the liver and the kidneys. It won't end up going into your lymphatic system in a chemical manner. So there's something else going on there. It's reacting inside your body in a different way. So I think it's less likely to create negative side effects of the same type as you've experienced. But again, suck it and see. You've got to explore these things yourself and see what kind of reaction you get. Okay, there isn't a hard and fast total formula when dealing directly with the complementary health world. I mean, within the frequency world, within homeopathy, even diet and nutrition, there's more perspectives than there are in modern art. Okay. So we have to like put things to the test in a Mythbusters kind of a way, see what's happened to our body, work out whether that treatment is right for us, whether a different interpretation of that treatment is right for us. Okay, I use scalar, I use it a lot, but I'm much more driven towards plasma and contact for the type of infections I've got. Okay, because that's just the way in which I deal with things. And I'm using like scalar to do some correcting, balancing, extra healing work, to try and get the body stronger and fitter, to increase more of the energy of life in the body. Okay, I'm attacking agents of decay, so I want to increase the energy of life in the body, and scalar is quite good for that. So try it, just try it, and do so without fear, but with like a, you know, part of your concentration, observing your body, observing your symptoms, observing how you're feeling, your energy. Try and keep a health diary if you can, as well as all the other stuff, what you've eaten and what your nutritional values were for that day or week and so on and so forth, how well you slept, and all the other symptoms associated with your illness, so you can try and work out what could be causing what. Okay? Okay. Oh, right, here we go. Now we're going on to one more. Here we go. Now we're going on to a question which says here, can you reuse sample digitizer replacement slides? That's not a scalar question, that's a sample digitizer question. But yes, you can reuse the slides. You need to rinse them, ideally with something like distilled water. You know, just water to just get rid of all the gunk as well as you can without removing any of the, you know, the surfacing of it. What do you clean the slides with? And distilled water would be great. You know, you need to use cleaning agent to try and clean it with. Must the biological sample always be fresh on the replacement slides? It's got to be liquid, really. In an ideal world, it should be liquid. Well, no, some people say they can like use powdered fingernails. But I don't know much about that. I have sample digitizer. I have not yet had cause to use it in anger. So there will be some aspects of that I won't be able to answer. My feeling is that you need to go for liquid, because when it dries out, it's not going to conduct. It's not going to allow frequency to go through it as well for digitizing your sample. Okay. What is the most common sample used? Right. If you're digitizing your sample, you're trying to work out what pathogens are in your sample, not in your body. So if you have I know it sounds gross. If you have a pustule and you manage to lance it and take out some of the creamy gunk, and then you sample digitize that, you could then get a frequency set using sample digitizer scanning. And then you could treat the body via contact, via plasma, via remote. You know, just using the remote when you're not directly taking your frequency of contact or plasma. And that can be used as part of your treatment. So you want to use the gunky, icky, the actual infection itself. If you've got a sinus infection, maybe you want to use some of your snot. If you've got a blood infection, use some of your blood. If you've got a urinary infection, use a bit of your wee. You know, if you've got a pustule, take some of the pus. Mouth ulcers, again, take some of the gunk which is inside it. That's what sample digitizer is about. It's to digitize the thing in the sample, not anything else in the body. It's there for the sample. Okay, does that make sense? It's different from a regular Generator X biofeedback scan with your TENS pads. It's different from using Scalar Digitizer when you're scanning like the whole body, the whole energy field, you know, using the Scalar Digitizer and the Scalar field. It's a different tool in your armory to do something with. Does that make sense? Okay, so now let's see if there's anything else here on the right-hand side of my screen which contains the regular chat. Okay, now it says, the question is, when sitting in a scalar field, can any chair be used even if it's a metal tubular chair? I think you want to try and reduce metal as much as is possible. Because, you know, there's a type of energy. Scalar's got two forms of energy. One is like almost like an RF energy or something similar to that, which goes to the other lid, which then gets turned into scalar energy, which bounces back. So you want to try and keep it as clean as you can. So try and remove or reduce the metal as best as you're able to. I know it's difficult in a modern domestic 21st century life. And I think metal will affect the field. Yeah, it will. And also, it's probably not recommended to use a laptop. I have a TV too close to the field. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, let's get this right. If you're scanning, you want to try and remove as much interference as is possible. If you're treating, you want to try and remove things that reduce or detract from the field. I mean, I've used a tablet when I'm treating in the scalar field. Okay, but I didn't really want to. I just had to at the time. It's just a question of trying to be as good as you can, really. Okay. Okay, so I'm planning on getting one during the Black Friday sale. We'll drop in. Ooh, okay. Okay, we'll have a good dinner. Okay, next question. Regarding structuring water, can a big jar be placed on the scalar field on the scalar field, or should it be placed upon the receiver? That goes on the transmitter. Okay. On the receiver coil, you place the stuff, the information. On the transmitter coil, you place the thing you want to fill with that information. So let's say you're like, you know, you want to be full of love. You want to use rose oil. Okay, rose oil, beautiful love, pure love energy, you know. So a little jar of rose oil prepared in the manner we've already discussed. That goes on the receiver coil. Okay? And on the transmitter coil, then you'll put your glass bottle of water. Then let it run. All night long, all day long. Just let it run, and all the energy will go straight into your water, which you can then drink and get your energy all loved up, full of petals. You know, whatever. And that's good. And people can do that if they're working with, like, you know, planetary energies and planetary oils and other forms of spiritual things. People can do that when relating to the pharmaceuticals, when relating to gemstones and crystals and other things which just carry an energy you want to receive into your energy field. So it can be a good thing. Okay. Right, we got anything else coming on through here? That appears to be, so far, yeah, that appears to be the last question. So, the question I want to ask you, all remaining 33 people in the audience today, is, have I answered your questions? How do you feel about that? If you haven't already entered your email address into the Zoom webinar chat, then do that now. Literally now, before I stop the recording and we end the webinar. Because then and only then will we be able to get the information to you. Okay. Because the information in question being, of course, your promo code, which is going to provide you with an extra couple of % off when you go for your Scalar, your Spooky Central, whatever it is you want to get yourself, or your next Generator X. I still haven't got my second and third Generator X I want to get myself, but that will be happening soon, I'm telling you, because I've got lots more work I want to do on myself. And it's always good to have more generators lying around, because you can have a few in your living room, you can have a few in your bedroom, you can have a few in your office, and that can be very beneficial just to make the whole process easier for you when you're going through self-treating, especially if you want to play with frequencies in other ways. Let's say, you know, you're radionic inclined, or you just want to do a heck of a lot with remotes, which is very beneficial. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending here. Okay, I got someone saying, we use it to heal and regenerate, and the plasma to deal with the stressors. It is so effective. Glad to hear it's similar for you. Yeah. Some of the experiences I've had when doing pathogen killing has been eye-opening. You know, all kinds of things I never wanted to happen in my life ended up happening, and lots of things which happened to me, which some people said can't happen to you in the UK, you're perfectly all right. They ended up happening to me too. And I just had to just, like, you know, learn how to live with that and find a solution. And using Spooky2 has been a very important part of my armory in dealing with the problems. I'm still on my healing journey. My personal situation is very, very complicated indeed, medically speaking. And I'm dealing with it all by my little self, which makes it very hard. Okay, right, I think that's it. All right. And I will look forward to the next one. Thank you very much indeed for attending. Keep posted. Carry on being a member of Spooky2 the Rife for Life, and carry on contributing there and helping us out there. And us in the spooky community will always be there for you. Thank you for your time. Bye for now.